Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Marlon Bowling with you, and I'm pleased to be joined by Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions in Springfield, Missouri. And I want to get his comments on what's taking place today. One thing, Brian, I wanted to take a look at some of these spring wheat condition ratings that came out from USDA yesterday. It was kind of interesting here, where overall, when you look at the national spring wheat rating, it declined by 1 point. But if you take a closer look at some of these individual states, for example, we had North Dakota at 88% good to excellent on their spring wheat crop. Now, that was a 5% increase, a 5-point increase, I should say. Now, Minnesota, though, went down 1 point at 85% good to excellent. And then you have Montana. Wow, they dropped 15 percentage points in 1 week, down to 65% good to excellent. And they now have 10% rated poor to very poor in Montana. Idaho down 1 point to 78% good to excellent. Washington up 1 point at 79% good to excellent there. And by the way, we had South Dakota going down 2 points to 49% good to excellent. Thought that was kind of interesting to see the developments in the conditions, so things are not as rosy everywhere as some folks would be led to believe there, Brian.
Yeah, exactly. And the crop tour in the spring wheat belt is underway. Some routes in South Dakota uncovering estimated yields below 30 bushels per acre. So you're looking at, very dry areas. There's also been some reports of as far as like east central North Dakota, 45 to 49 bushels per acre. And that's very consistent with good yield expectations. So, it's kind of widely varied, and that'll be the case for some time as they go through parts of the Dakotas where it's been either dry or some wet conditions.
We'll get to the wheat prices in a second. I want to go to Chicago and check out our current grain trade and get all our viewers and listeners updated here. We'll start with the corn. And right now, we have that September contract down 3.5. We're at 353 3/4. December new crop down 3 3/4 at 367.5. In the soybean trade, as we look over there, it has had quite a day. We have August now 10 higher at 857 3/4. New crop November, well, it's 10 1/4 higher at 873. A big bounce off its earlier low today of 857. That's a 16-cent rebound there. Let's take a look at the wheat trade that we were talking about in Chicago first. We have September down 4 1/4 today at 509.5, and December down 4 1/4. In Kansas City wheat, we have that September contract now down 4 1/4 per bushel at 506.5. And in Minneapolis wheat, that's where that spring wheat is traded, and we have September down 2 1/4 cents at 559 3/4 per bushel. Also, cotton on that December new crop, by the way, is trading 19 points lower. It had been higher. Now it's at 86.62 per pound. We'll come back and talk more with Brian Hoops about our markets when we come back after this. Let's go back to Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions in Springfield, Missouri. By the way, Brian, I know you had talked earlier when we talked in recent weeks about how the crop conditions are holding up in Missouri. Some areas really, really dry. Has that area been expanding, or is it shrinking a little bit this week?
So far, early part of the week, it's dry, remaining dry, probably expanding. That dry area of northern Kansas, southern Nebraska, northern Missouri, very dry. Lawns are turning brown. There is rain in the forecast for later this week, and it looks like some of those areas are going to get some, so it'll maybe help stabilize the crop a little bit by the end of the weekend.
Yesterday, we got the cold storage report from USDA after the markets closed up for the day, and the beef supplies and the pork supplies were both down from a month ago. If you look at them compared to a year ago, though, it looks like our frozen beef supplies were 8% higher than a year ago, while it looks like the frozen pork supplies remained unchanged. And just wondered what you took away from that report when it came out.
Yeah, the reports had a little bit of a negative impact on the beef market in here. We saw supplies less than a month ago, and that's usually a pretty good sign as far as demand that packers are using some of that pork and beef that's in storage to meet their demand. So I think it's a positive sign for longer term for the demand. Futures have probably traded that yesterday. It was kind of a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. So we're not seeing a reaction to this report, as I think that's the reason why we saw cattle futures move higher into the report's release on Monday afternoon.
Do you think that pork number declined a little more than expected, maybe, and that's why we're seeing a bounce there?
Yeah, we probably did. You know, the market is near these contract low levels, and it was somewhat of a friendly surprise to the market. So, good reason for us to see some short covering in here. Maybe tell some of these traders who've been selling every small rally attempt in this market that with prices this cheap, we should be building pork supplies in cold storage, and the fact that we didn't means that there may be better demand than what they had anticipated.
Let's run through the futures trade then, and we'll see where we now stand in Chicago on the live cattle board here as we take a look at our futures trade. We'll start with that nearby August contract, and we are down 74 cents at 107.98 per hundredweight, and that is currently about 90 cents or so off of our earlier high. We now have the October contract at 109.80. That's down 80 cents on the day, and we have December down 70 at 114.20. What about feeder cattle, you ask? Well, we have the nearby August contract down 62 at 152.63 per hundredweight, and that is almost exactly $1 off our earlier high this morning. Right now, September down 62 at 153.70. That is exactly $1 off of its earlier high. And now in the lean hog segment, let's take a look at lean hog futures on the August. It's up 23 cents at 66.65. However, you have all the other months well over $1 higher. We have October now gaining $1.43. It's priced at 54.05, and we have December up $1.57 at 48.85. Thanks, Brian, for all the input on the markets today. Appreciate that, sir. Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions. He's in Springfield, Missouri.